There's a quiet belief that settles in when you start putting things out into the world. At first, it feels almost inevitable that if you just keep showing up, something will eventually click into place, that the algorithm will notice, that momentum will build, that one day, almost without warning, the weight will shift and everything will begin to move forward on its own. But it doesn't quite happen like that. What happens instead is quieter. You keep showing up, keep making things, and sometimes the only people who seem to notice are the ones who already know your name. And even then, it's not always clear what you're building toward. In the beginning, it all looks deceptively simple. You see others doing something similar, and it seems to work for them. Effort goes in, results come out, a clean equation. And when it doesn't unfold that way for you, the questions begin to gather. Do I change something? Am I doing it wrong? Am I just late? Those questions don't stay on the surface for long. They follow you into quieter moments, into the spaces where there's nothing to distract you from them. It's a strange thing, the sound of a clock in a silent room when you're wide awake at 3 a.m. It's not the tick that gets you. It's the space between. That's where the voice lives, the one that does the brutal, silent arithmetic. If they got married at 23, and you're 27 and can't keep a cactus alive, if they bought the house at 30 and you're 28 and your savings is a metaphor for good intentions, if their promotion was at 26 and you're still trying to decipher what you even want to be when you grow up, the math never works out in your favor. It always leaves a remainder, and the remainder is you, lying there, feeling like you missed the train while everyone else is already at the destination, sipping champagne and comparing mortgage rates. We call this feeling falling behind, but that phrase feels too gentle for what it is. It's not a stumble. It's something closer to vertigo, the sense that everyone else received a map with clear directions while yours arrived blurred, incomplete, or maybe just written in a language you haven't learned to read yet. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. And maybe that's part of the disorientation. You're trying to understand a life that hasn't finished unfolding yet. You look around, and people seem to be moving with certainty, like vessels on open water, cutting through it with purpose. And you're there too, but it feels different, slower, foggier, like you're still figuring out where exactly you're meant to be going. The checklist is so deeply ingrained it feels biological. It's been slipped into our psychological backpack since childhood, laminated with cultural approval. For men like myself, the script is a blueprint for a fortress. By this age, have a foundation, a degree. By this age, have walls and a roof, a career. By this age, raise the flag of family. The unspoken question is always one of utility. Are you structurally sound? Can you provide, protect, perform? To be behind is to feel like unformed concrete, wet, useless, unable to bear weight. And for women, the script is a biological and social symphony with a strict, percussive tempo. The melody is education, then career, but the underlying relentless beat is the fertility clock, the relationship escalator, the curatorial instinct to build a life. To be behind is to feel the dissonance, your own beautiful, complex song playing out of sync with the metronome of expectation. We internalize these timelines so completely that we forget they are historical artifacts, not natural law. They are hand-me-downs from a different world. A world where people died at 50, where one job was for life, where you married the person from your hometown because they were there, where following your passion was a luxury whispered by poets, not a demand shouted by LinkedIn influencers. That script was written for an economy of factories and farmsteads, not for an economy of gigs, side hustles, and perpetual reskilling. And yet, the feeling remains. Maybe because we've built something around us that constantly reinforces it. Not directly, not in a way that announces itself, but in small, repeated exposures. Moments where you're not even looking for comparison, and still find it. A post, a milestone, a quiet announcement disguised as something casual. And suddenly, it feels like everything is happening all at once for everyone else. Like there's a synchronized rhythm you somehow missed, but what you're seeing is never the whole thing. It's fragments, endpoints, carefully selected frames. You see where something ended, but not where it almost didn't begin. You see what held, but not what nearly fell apart. You see the version of a life that's ready to be shown, not the one that was lived to get there. And over time, those fragments start to feel like a complete picture, like proof of something, that there is a right pace, a right order, a right way to arrive. But is there? Or is it just that we've become very good at documenting arrival, and almost nothing in between? Because when you step slightly outside of what's visible, the timelines begin to loosen. You find people who didn't follow anything resembling a straight line. People who started later, changed direction, paused, restarted, walked away, came back. And their lives don't feel incomplete. If anything, they feel layered, as if time wasn't lost, just used differently. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Maybe those deviations, the pauses, the detours, the restarts aren't interruptions. Maybe they're part of the structure. Maybe they're where the light actually enters. And it makes you wonder whether the idea of being behind only exists when you assume everyone is moving toward the same destination. Because if the destinations are different, then what exactly are you behind on? Maybe the discomfort isn't just about time. Maybe it's about orientation. The feeling of moving without a clear reference point, of not knowing whether what you're doing is leading somewhere or just continuing. And maybe that's why it feels heavier at night. Because in the absence of noise, the questions become easier to hear. Not always louder, just clearer. What am I actually building? And for who? What would this look like if no one else was watching? If no one else was ahead? And maybe those questions don't need immediate answers. Maybe they're not meant to resolve quickly. Maybe they're closer to direction than doubt. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then, gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. There's something quieter in that approach. Less urgency, less panic, more space. Because if the clock you're listening to was never yours to begin with, then what would it sound like if you stopped trying to match it? Would it be slower, less predictable, quieter, or just different? And if it's different, does that mean it's wrong? Or does it just mean you're no longer measuring yourself against something that was never designed with you in mind? It's difficult to tell, because the instinct to compare doesn't disappear overnight. It lingers. You still look sideways sometimes, still check, still calculate, still try to make sense of where you are in relation to everything else. But maybe the more interesting question isn't whether you're behind. Maybe it's whether the path you're on even requires a finish line. Because if it doesn't, then what does it actually mean to arrive? And if arrival isn't the point, then what is? Maybe it's something quieter, something less visible. The accumulation of understanding, the slow shaping of perspective, the kind of growth that doesn't announce itself, but changes how you see everything, the kind that can't be rushed. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through. But one thing is certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. Maybe that's the part that doesn't fit neatly into timelines. The internal shifts, the things that take time but don't look like progress from the outside. the parts of you that are still becoming. And maybe that's why it feels like you're not where you're supposed to be, because you're measuring something internal with external markers, trying to quantify something that was never meant to be counted. So maybe the question changes. Not am I behind, but behind what exactly? And who decided that was the direction worth moving toward? Because if the answer to that isn't clear, then maybe the path isn't either. And if the path isn't clear, maybe that's not failure. Maybe that's just the beginning of seeing it for yourself. So, wherever you are right now, driving, lying awake, or just sitting with your thoughts, I'm glad our paths crossed for a little while. Take care of your mind, guard your heart, and don't rush the questions that take a lifetime to answer. Until next time, peace be with you.